Rainbow Six Siege isn't a game where your KD matters. Winning games is what matters. That said, it feels real good to win gunfights, and winning gunfights is a huge part of becoming a better and smarter player. One less bad guy means your team is closer to winning the round. That's why a 5v4 is always a game in favor of the team with 5. That's why levers suck so much. I made this video to be a sort of de facto guide to helping you win gunfights in Rainbow Six Siege. But first, you'll probably notice, hey, Crimbo's a mid-gold player with a decent KD of 1.5, but he's not plat, he's not diamond. Why should I listen to this guy? Good question. You are correct, I'm not a top tier player, but I've been sweating very hard and trying to get better at this game for months and months. I watch streamers, I try to pick up on their good habits, and I watch a lot of content and learn from players who are much better at this game than I am. The tips in this video, I didn't come up with all of them. Some of them might be obvious, but I've picked up on them from watching my own mistakes and then also watching people that are better at the game than me. So there's two parts to this video. One part is a quick section of outside the game factors that play into how you play, and the other part is my list of tips on how to win gunfights. That's probably the part you're here for. Check the timestamps in the description to skip ahead. So let's get into it. There are two outside the game factors that play into how you perform while playing Siege. One is raw aim skill, so that's your reflexes, that's flicking, practicing T-hunt, or aim trainers if you're crazy. Half your raw aim skills from practice and playing, and the other, I'm convinced, is just your mental acuity, your physical fitness, your health habits. All those things work into how well you can play the game. Second is mouse pad surface, desk space, and mouse sensitivity. First, mouse pad surface. I like using a wrist pad for my keyboard hand. It's soft, cozy. I don't get pain on this bone anymore, whatever this bone is, I don't know. Diagrams are hard to read. I like using an oversized mouse pad. With low sends, you need this because your arm is going to be going all over the place. There's a link in the description for both the mouse that I use, the Logitech G502, the best mouse in the history of gaming. Join r/G502 Master Race for proof. My keyboard rest and mouse pad. I'm not sponsored, by the way. I mean, look at these subs. That's obviously not what's going on here. Desk space. You need to move your arm. Keep your desk clean. Don't be like this guy. Don't be like this guy. Pick a day once a week to clean it off and throw your junk away. I do Friday mornings. Makes the most sense for my schedule. Also, pick a day once a month or two to clean your mouse pad, you filthy animal. Finally, controversial, I know, but low sensitivity should be your goal. I do 400 DPI, and within Siege settings, I do 10 and 10. That's what I play at. I used to play high sends, and when I switched to low sends, my wrist stopped hurting. My shots landed more often, and my life was just easier. There's plenty of much better videos than this one out there that can speak to this, but just trust me, it's worth it. Okay, so we've talked about stuff outside the game. Let's get into Siege. This game is all about putting yourself in the best possible position to win. In every gunfight, in fact, before the gunfight even happens, you should already be thinking ahead about how you can set yourself up for success. So the best way I'd advise you to apply the tips in this video, don't get into a game of Siege and think you're suddenly going to play like a king. Instead, pick one or two of the tips in this video and start practicing them. If you go into your games expecting to start instinctively doing all of these things at once, you're setting yourself up for failure, and that sucks. It's like when New Year's Eve hits and you make resolutions to go to the gym 3 times a week, start an essential oils business, and finally start creating content for your CyberGoth YouTube channel. It's too much. It's not realistic. You're going to fail. Just pick a few tips and work them out for a few weeks, and I guarantee you'll be playing smarter, and that's going to help out you and your teammates in big ways. So, here are my tips for things you should be thinking about in order to win your gunfights. Smart players aim at head level. Let's say you're attacking down a hallway with your gun pointed at the floor, while, unbeknownst to you, a defender is around the corner at the end of the hallway, gun aimed at head level. To ADS onto the defender, you have to pull your mouse up, but if the defender's already aiming at your head, then who's more likely to win that gunfight? Even if the defender only gets body shots on you, they still have a big chance for headshotting you, and they'll be shooting you long before you're even ADS'd onto them. This is probably the biggest tip to winning gunfights, and if you start practicing aiming at head level, you'll be much better off. This tip is extremely strong, and that's changing your stance. I'll change my stance in 2 instances. One instance is during the gunfight. This means I can go from standing to crouching or vice versa while I'm exchanging gunfire with my opponent. This works because my opponent is trying to body shot or headshot me. But if you change your stance, they have milliseconds to readjust their ADS to hit you. So this gives you a tiny little advantage in the middle of the gunfight. The second instance where I'll change my stance is right before re-engaging the enemy. So if I was standing when we first exchanged gunfire, then I duck for cover, I'll re-peek the corner, but this time I'll do it crouched. My opponent knew I was last seen standing, so in their heads, that's what they're expecting to see again. But if I re-peek crouched, they have to adjust for that, which can be all the difference in winning the gunfight. This tip is similar to the previous tip, and that's what you do in the crucial seconds after winning your gunfight. If you're playing a competent team that communicates well, once you kill an enemy, they'll likely rotate a new player over to replace them and engage you. The player you killed is probably telling their team exactly where you are, what operator you're playing, what stance you were in, your remaining health, so you have mere seconds or less to make that intel outdated. This game's all about intel. If you stand in the same spot and keep your angle in the same location, your odds of success are very low. Now there are times when you need to hold the same angle, like sometimes when you're anchoring on defense. However, in most instances, after you get a kill, you should immediately change your position. This might mean dropping through a hatch, pushing a different angle, finding a corner and watching for a flank, or maybe just dropping prone. Anything you can do to make their intel bad and outdated puts you in control. This also goes for when you get droned out. Shoot the drone and quickly find a new position or run. This one is simple, but another way you can gain the advantage is by using the environment to get above your opponent. This not only throws your opponent off, but it can give you a different perspective, which can lead to unique angles and big brain plays. I first learned about this term when playing CSGO. The pixel peeking means you're literally watching an angle with just a single line or two of visible pixels. As soon as you see movement in those pixels, you open up your sight and step out to get the kill. Pixel peeking is a super strong tactic that can be used on every map in so many different ways. Experiment to find the angles that you like. Something I like to do a lot, especially when face checking, is to quickly lean into a room, then immediately lean back to get behind cover. The purpose of this is twofold. First, it draws fire from enemies in the room, and two, if they shoot at me and miss, I now have a really good idea of where they are in the room. They could respond in a couple of ways. They could stay where they are, which gives you peeker's advantage if you're fast enough, or they could empty their magazine while running out of the room to get to safety. If they do this, wait for the magazine to empty, then rush them down. But you have to be careful because they're probably giving intel as they retreat, allowing other players to flank you. This tip is very important. Watch out for your own thickness. Let's face it, as we get older and play more video games, our bodies age and they do weird things they didn't used to do. These operators are no different. When prone, your thighs and feet pop out in all kinds of weird directions. You might feel safe, but your thickness is sticking out.
Can you see me?
Yes. Can you see my head?
No, I can't see anything.
Oh my gosh, dude. I can literally see your head. That's so funny.
Now I can see it.
This shows up extremely heavily when leaning around corners. I can't even see you, dude.
Wait, you can't see me right now?
No, I cannot see you. How much of me can you see?
A lot. I could shoot you in the head right now.
And it's not just the operators that have their thick poking out, but also their guns, especially guns with longer barrels. Everyone can see that. That's not sneaky. Put that thing away. Knowing when to be aggressive is a game sense skill, and it's going to take a lot of hours to know when best to apply it. Some players are passive and they take their time. They drone every corner, etc. They probably anchor on defense. Other players are aggressive. They like to face check. They like to run out. They like to knife you. They're crazy. This is a balance that you have to learn as you play, and it shows up constantly in gunfights. Sometimes it's better to hold back and apply pressure to a doorway to prevent them from pushing into the room. Other times you're missing out on getting kills because you're playing too passive. So my solution here is experiment. Learn when to push up, get next to the wall your opponent's holding. Learn when to try ballsy melees from around the corner. Learn how to quick peek and face check. This game is slow, but that doesn't mean playing aggressively can't be rewarding. Though I recommend doing this in casual games and not screwing over your ranked team while experimenting. I've been using gadgets and my teammates for distractions since I started playing Siege, and you should too. Here's an example. On attack, if you know a baddie's behind a soft wall you're pushing, place a breach charge on the soft wall, then detonate it as you push hard into that room from a different doorway, or do the same thing with impacts on defense. The explosion is more than enough to cause a distraction, which can gain you those milliseconds that you need to get on your opponent before they get on you. I'm usually one of our team's entry fraggers, so when I'm trying to push sight, rush upstairs, rappel through a window, I constantly ask my teammates to just start blasting their guns into the windows of sight. This is great because all the noise masks me sprinting or breaking into the building, and that is enough to get in people's faces quickly.
I think he might have went down the stairs. Oh, babies, let's go.
Finally, here's a quick list of tips related to knowing your gun and your attachments. Everyone's going to play Siege better if we choose ops and guns and gadgets smartly instead of stupidly or randomly. 1. Know the recoil pattern of your gun. You should know Buck's assault rifle has a massive kick, so you should drag down immediately after shooting. You should know how to pull your mouse down in general while on full auto to shoot straight. You should know about the diamonds in Siege. Know if your gun is better for headshots than body shots. The MP5 and MPX come to mind, but these guns do so little damage that you need to focus on trying to get a headshot instead of mowing your opponent down. Know if your gun is going to suffer at close range. ACOGs are great, but in close quarters combat, ACOGs are not great. If you're about to drop hatch or push into a smaller series of rooms, you might want to consider your secondary weapon. A machine pistol or SMG are going to keep you alive, and the ACOG might make things worse. Think about that too. If a map has smaller rooms, or you know you're going to be pushing hatches, maybe you should have a hollow on your gun instead of an ACOG. Don't be as aggressive if you don't have an angled grip. We love vertical grip, but with the recent ADS timing changes, you're going to have a hard time if you're an aggressive player that likes to get in people's faces. The vertical grip rewards slower play, but it's going to make those close quarter combat gunfights that much harder to win. And that's it. Seriously, take just a few of these tips home with you, practice them. I promise you're going to find more success in your gunfights. I'm so thankful for everyone who's watched this entire video. I'm so thankful for each of my subs. If you aren't subscribed, please watch another one of my videos, see if you like my content, and then subscribe. Click the like on the videos you enjoy. It really means a lot. Thanks so much for watching.
I can't tell.